All right. Welcome, everyone. I was giving us a few minutes to allow more people to join us on both the Zoom and on YouTube. I think a few people have come on now, so we can go ahead and start today's open discussion and various topics. Let us first open up with reciting the prayer for spiritual workers. And then we'll open the floor for a few questions and answers. Prayer for spiritual workers. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their limitations, would smite me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their weakness, would not heed me. Almighty God, I bless all those who, because of their ignorance, would defile you through me. And I ask, Almighty God, O wondrous power, that your strength may be given to me now, so that I might be fortified by this, so that I might go forward bravely into the world, and despite reception, send forth my love of thee throughout all races of man. Almighty God, give me the power and strength to rise above my karmic weakness, the deficiencies in the pattern of my evolution, so that I might evolve and become stronger, I, and even stronger in thy everlasting light. O God, thy will be done. All right. Welcome everyone to open discussion and various topics, class 108. As per usual, feel free to post your questions either on Zoom. If you're joining us on Zoom, then you can also use the raise hand feature to ask your question audibly. Or if you're joining us on YouTube, then you can post your questions in the chat. And we'll do our best to answer those for you. And then in the second half, we will dive into a couple of handouts. I do not remember what we discussed last time, so I'll take a quick peek at the previous class. And we'll either continue that discussion or we'll move on to a different set of handouts. So do we have any questions or comments? Okay, last class we were looking at the power of mantra, the ancient mystic science of sound. And I was reading through a few diagrams to help us better understand this ancient mystic science, as well as referencing from excerpts from the text, The Ancient Language of the Soul, the inaugural text by our teacher, Mr. Nehemiah Davis. You can find more information about the book on our website, mysticknowledge.org, or you can also pick up a copy via Amazon, both electronic and print versions. So as we wait for your questions to come in, I'll go ahead and queue up those handouts. Okay, so last time we were reading through chapter 3, looking at a few excerpts from chapter 3, The Power of Mantra, which again comes from the Ancient Language of the Soul book. Let's see, I think we've cut off right before the 4 states of sound, 4 aspects of sound, right? Today we'll finish up looking at the 4 aspects of sound, and then we'll go into the 6 parts of mantra japa to complete this handout. Sorry, not handout, this excerpt from Ancient Language of the Soul text. But for a deeper discussion of mantra, sorry, let me stop bouncing back and forth. I invite you to go back to our previous lessons on our previous classes on the subject of mantra, as well as navigate to our website, mystickknowledge.org. And under the link, new book sale, you can see it on your screen. You will find, again, this text written by Mr. Nehemiah Davis, Ancient Language of the Soul, The Mystic Knowledge of Mantra. You can pick up both physical and digital versions of the book. I still believe he's still offering this for an autographed copy service. Not at that address, do send us an email And if you would like an autographed copy of the text from the author, I do believe he's still offering that service, so get more information about that. And then additionally, there are quite a few lectures on mantra given by Dr. George King, including a mantra initiation given directly by Dr. George King. It includes several mantras as well as demonstrations of the proper pronunciation of the mantra. So we have plenty of resources available. We just quickly find that mantra initiation recording, put it up so we can find it on, here we go. It's called the Initiation into Dynamic and Soul Mantra. Go to the aetherius.org. Under the shop, you will see this initiation recording, both available on CD and audio download, available for purchase, as well as other lectures on mantra and various subjects as well. All right, so do we have any questions, any comments? All right, well, if there are no questions or comments yet, let's move into the excerpt from chapter 3, The Power of Mantra. But throughout the reading, you can feel free to ask any questions or any comments you have, and we'll be happy to address those for you. So last time we looked at a brief discussion on mantra and discussed how it represents embodied consciousness of the soul and spirit. Its sabda bodies, or the bodies of consciousness that precedes the casual, etheric, and astral bodies. Looked at it as its life signatures is contained within and behind all the bodies, both subtle and gross. We discussed how it defines several levels of consciousness of man, unmanifested and manifested, including the supra-conscious mind, subconscious mind, and conscious mind. We also discussed how it binds the various bodies together, creating a vortex window, allows man's various conscious levels of consciousness to exist and work on different realms. They talked about how it shows the evolutionary pathway that man uses to make his way back to God, and for more detailed discussion on that very topic, you can pick up, I highly recommend, the text, The Nine Freedoms, well, temperature like that. The Nine Freedoms by the Atheist Society. It is both a transmission, it is a transmission that was put into text form. And also in the book, you have the transmission and you have explanation by Dr. George King after each transmission. And he's also given a series of lectures on the Nine Freedoms. That too is also available. In the Nine Freedoms, it details our evolutionary path, both on this earth and off this earth in, as mentioned here, I'll make our way back to God. Then we also talked about how it shows the pathway that Kundalini takes on its journey to unite the soul with the spirit and various other aspects. So again, do pick up the text, Ancient Language of the Soul, to give a very detailed discussion on mantra that we can use to enhance our mantra japa practice. And so this particular handout is not available on the Google Drive shared folder because it is an extract from the text, from the book. So if you'd like a copy of this, pick up the book. So now let's pick up at the 4 aspects of sound. The Pada sound is a differentiation force, which is a united Shakti force of one consciousness, which moves forward into a Shakti force of many parts before actual manifestation. This is considered to be motionless, casual sabda, absolute sound, which exists within the Kundalini consciousness of man at the Muladhara chakra, at the base of the spine, and within the flame of the Logos of earth, from which all life streams of this earth must pass through in order to enter the wheel of rebirth, samsara, on the realms of earth. I refer you back to a lecture on Karma and Reincarnation given by Dr. George King, and the realms, spirit realms, the realms of consciousness, the realms of the masters, and the realms and the lower realms, to get a better discussion, deeper discussion about what Nehemiah mentions here in about the space of 2 sentences, particularly in, he's mentioning here that all life streams of earth must pass through in order to enter the wheel of rebirth, samsara, on the realms of earth. For more information about the subject, you can also refer back to previous lectures that Nehemiah has given on the levels of the realms of earth, life on the realms, karma, reincarnation, and in particular, in some of his earlier lectures, we looked at some of the Theosophical Society teachings, particularly the secret doctrines, where he goes into great detail about the bodies, what it means to go through the logos of a planet in order to be born on that planet, and so on and so on and so forth. So again, here, some subjects are briefly touched over, maybe in a sentence or in a paragraph, but there's a lot to unpack behind each sentence, and the teachings can go very, very deep. And if you were to expand on every single thing, then it wouldn't be a single text, but multiple volumes of encyclopedia level books. The aspects of this Pada sound that commences to move takes on a conscious power signature of Pasyanti sound. This wave of dormant conscious Sabda Shakti extends itself from the Muladhara chakra to the Manipura chakra, the navel center or the solar plexus center. This aspect of sound, Sabda, is the first movement of the I consciousness and the this consciousness, or the whole consciousness that became many aspects of consciousness. This Shakti sound is a motionless force that represents first movement. It brings universal mind and cosmic energies into active manifestation. This aspect of Sabda consciousness is often described as Ishvara, a name given to a manifested state of modified consciousness that extends from the universal consciousness. And again, if at any point you have some questions, I could post a comment on any subject, necessarily have to pertain to what we're looking at right now. Feel free to post that in the chat and we will answer that question for you. The third aspect of Sabda consciousness is called Madhyama sound, which is Sabda power that demonstrates the cognitive aspect of mental movement. This initial power of sound consciousness continues its journey by modifying itself from the Pasyanti sound located at the solar plexus center into the heart center, Anahata chakra, giving inner meaning to its movement. It is here where the naming of this Sabda power occurs. It is here where this sound power manifests its ability to mold mind and cosmic energy into shapes by forming the subtle bodies of man. This wave of consciousness can be easily seen in the physical bodies of man. We can actually say that there is a network or matrix of sound that extends from the physical heart in a series of sound vibrations that pumps the oxygenated red blood cells throughout the body, while pulling the depleted oxygen blood cells into the lungs to be oxygenated again. Before this Madhyama sound appears, there is no outer form or subject. Then, the supreme conscious will in a manifested state of Pasyanti modifies itself as the inner Madhyama sound and is projected into the world as sensual experience, which moves forward as the final sound aspect of consciousness, which is Vaikari sound. The Vaikari sound is the fourth aspect of sound. This wave of Vaikari sound represents the gross aspect of consciousness as gross speech and gross physical body. This Sabda Shakti force is located in the Vishuddha chakra, throat center. Vaikari Sabda is the corresponding gross aspects of the subtler forms extending from the Madhyama mental configuration. We can see these powerful forces at play in a true analysis of gross spoken speech. Spoken speech is a physical vehicle for thought. Organized thought is a subtler form of sound that resides in the inner subtle realms of man's mind. Coherent, gross audible sound that expresses itself with words that make sentences to convey messages outside of the mental framework of your inner thoughts is the vehicle that sound uses to project its subtle forms to the gross realms of existence. Sound represents organized movement. All movement has a point of origin and a destination point. Before the start of this movement, there had to be an idea or concept which can be considered subtle, motionless movement before thought formation of the manifestation of that idea, para sound, or the absolute potential of sound. This idea or concept acts as a point of consciousness, a power source of all potential that energizes mind and pranic forces into a definite form or shape. These energetic mental forms muscles themselves through the wave of all pervasive mind substance and cosmic energies, modifying these subtle particles into denser forms of matter, all through the power of sound. Therefore, sound is consciousness, and consciousness is subtle sound expressing itself as mental thought forms. These are the mental thought forms which are the subtle sounds that express itself as audible sound in the form of spoken language, which can be described by words and sentences. Uttered speech is the manifestation of the inner naming of mental thought forms. Right. Have any questions? Sorry, do we have any questions or comments on that before I continue on to the 6 parts of mantra japa? Okay. Before we jump into the 6 parts of mantra japa, I wanted to show one of the Sabdabadi handouts in which the Maya illustrates what we just described in those few paragraphs. So this is a 2-page handout, which I believe is in the Google Drive shared folder, and it's entitled Sabdabadis. So in a discussion of the Sabdabadis, he first gives an analysis of the chakras and then breaks it down just like it did in the previous in that excerpt from chapter 3 into a discussion of those Sabdabadis and sound. Those 4 aspects. So we'll start on the right-hand side where we look at the illustration of the human aura as well as the chakra system. Starting at the base, we're going to go from the base upwards, which is the path of evolution. At the base, Muladhara, the formation of self-consciousness. Then at the sex center, at the seat of consciousness, moving up to the solar plexus center, the center in which the major intake, exchange, and transference of power occurs. At the heart center, it is the organization and utilization of mind and vital energy to house intelligent life. At the throat center, we have the manifestation of light through the 4th aspect of consciousness, the physical realm, which we'll look at, discussed earlier, and then also look at the next page. And then you have the Christ center, which is the command center. And so now let's take a look at the general anatomy of a chakra. So this illustration here on the left-hand side, you have in the center, that black circle in the center, let me zoom in a bit. That represents the bindu, the spiritual germ or essence that springs forward to bring intelligent life to manifestation. And then from that, we see these black lines extending. We'll first look at the white area, which represents the first layer of the bindu influence, which is compacted with the cosmic batus, the tattvic rays, and the 5 major pranas, all being propelled by the nada force of the bindu. Then we have the gray area extending out beyond the white area, is the tattvic matter radiated from the sun by a super cosmic ray and modified by the earth and moon. The black lines extending out and through the nadi, through the bindu. This is the nada flow from the bindu, rises up and is configured into the seed mantra by the soul to produce an aspect of consciousness. And then we get to the black dots. The black dots on the outside of the chakra disc represent the chakra petals, or bijas, which are the seed mantras. It is here where consciousness is calibrated. The petals are intersections of the nadis called the nadi nuts. And then we get to the dashed line extending out from the petals. And these are the nadis that travel in, through, and out the chakra petals. Okay. So look at the next page. We'll look at the 4 aspects of sound, and we'll dive into, again, 4 aspects of sound, and we'll dive into a bit of the 4 aspects of creation. And in this diagram, Nehemiah presents the correlation between the 2. And also in this diagram, in the first paragraph, we'll talk about where you can get more information on the lecture, the 4 aspects of creation. Let's start off on the right-hand side with the 4 aspects of sound. Within the ancient teachings of yoga, there is the science of sound, or mantra sastra, which sheds some light on the formation of man's consciousness and its levels of operation. A study of this ancient science will help the student to begin understanding the teachings of the 4 aspects of creation, delivered to the world by Dr. George King after his physical contact with Mars Sector 8. The Earth man's consciousness on the physical and subtle planes of existence requires a manifestation of 4 distinct states of sound from the soul's vehicle of consciousness, known as Kundalini. The soul of man, at the express will of spirit, pushes the Shakti power, now Sushumna, into a 3.5 knot called Kundalini, which reveals its essence, Shiva, by moving into a dormant state and releasing a creative holy sound that manifests itself with 4 distinct sound that produces 1, various states of consciousness, 2, pranic positions, and 3, levels of operation. What is Nehemiah talking about here? He talks about pushing of the Shakti power at Sushumna. It was the involutionary process, right? Back up here. That power is pushed down Sushumna, down to the Muladhara, where it enters that involution process. And when it enters that 3.5 knot configuration, correct me if I'm wrong, Nehemiah, but this is where it takes on the name Kundalini, or that Shakti power is given the name of Kundalini when it goes into that 3.5 knot dormant state. And some of that energy, small percentage of that energy, is propagated out through the nadis and thereby animating the bodies, correct?
Right. It's that's the equilibrium point for that energy, and it goes into the Shakti power becomes Kundalini, because once it becomes Kundalini, only like 2 or 3% of it is expressed, and that's why they call it Kundalini, because it's tied into a knot.
Thank you. Let's continue onward. The four states of sound are known as para sound. This is the supreme sound as pure potentiality. In the divine will of the absolute, arising from the union of Shiva and Shakti. And let me zoom in because I don't know if you guys can see that. And again, Pasyanti sound, this is a visible sound of the mental images prior to thought. This is the sound that arises from the subtle level of sound. It graduates from the first state of sound into the power of consciousness that forms the mental images. Right, so if you just go back a little bit, you'll see para sound in the illustration. You'll see that number one, that para sound, unmanifested motion in this sound, Nehemiah shows that at the Mudahara. Number two, Pasyanti sound, the first movement of sound, transference of power new level operation is expressed at the solar plexus. Madhyama sound, number three, at the heart center, sound subtle aspect formation of the subtle bodies. This is the intermediate level of sound as manifested thought. It is this level where the visible sound, Pasyanti, graduates to manifested thought forms, which with continuous motion. It is here where this level of sound builds motion before it solidifies into gross audible sound. And then number four, Vaikari sound, which is sound gross aspect, thought to sound, subtler bodies encased by the gross. And that is at the throat center. Vaikari sound is manifested sound on a gross coarse audible sound. This is the final step in the four levels of graduated sound. It is the solidification of sound in gross intelligent form. At this level, consciousness exists on several realms of existence: the casual or supra-conscious realm, the etheric realms, the mental realms, the astral realm, and physical realm. Okay. So with that, let's go into a brief discussion of the four aspects of creation. And again, this is from a lecture given by Dr. George King after his physical contact with a being from Mars, codenamed Mars Sector 8. A lecture which you can pick up from the Aether Society website, available on CD and audio for download. In the late 1950s, Dr. George King, a Western yogi master, had a physical contact with a cosmic being reportedly from the planet Mars, with the code name Mars Sector 8 in England. This avatar laid out in simple terms the average state of consciousness of an individual living on Mars, one of the planets of our solar system with advanced interplanetary existence. He explained that they live on the highest planes of existence, which is the etheric realms of their planets. Interplanetary existence being one of the 9 freedoms. So more information about that, do pick up the text, the 9 freedoms, and the lectures that accompany it. Every intelligence exists as a twin soul, one with a primary positive male configured consciousness and another with a negative female configured consciousness, all called by the avatar as aspect number 1, the twin soul. There is a lecture and a couple of handouts where Nehemiah goes into greater detail about the aspects and even illustrates them to better help us understand them. I would invite you to go back to our previous lectures to find that. I do believe that lecture is public. It may be in the playlist on where Nehemiah expands further on the teachings of Dr. George King. But if that lecture is not available, do send me an email and I will get permission from Nehemiah to share that with you, if allowed. Now, this first aspect creates the second aspect, to move through the subtle realms of the perspective planet, gaining experience, and to perform a particular job. Now, if the avatar intelligence wants to travel outside the planet, a third aspect is created to make that interstellar journey. Then, when the avatar intelligence has a particular mission to help a lower race of people on another planet, a fourth aspect is created to be incarnated into the life cycle of that planet for a duration of time. Well, there's a lot to be said, but in this paragraph, these two paragraphs, Nehemiah summarizes an entire body of information, lectures, and so forth. So again, if this sounds foreign to you or confusing, I invite you to look back at the previous lectures on the discussion of the aspects, to also pick up the source lecture itself, the 4 aspects from the Dear Society, review that material, listen to it several times, go over it several times, and then come back and you'll gain a greater understanding, a deeper understanding about not only the 4 aspects of creation, but also the 4 aspects of sound. And any additional further questions you have, again, feel free to ask those questions, pose those questions to us. We'll try to respond in a way that helps you further understand, digest this information. More information on this subject can be found on the Dear Society lecture audio series by Dr. George King called The 4 Aspects of Creation, and an article that records the whole event of the contact with Mars Sector 8 on that cold, wet night in England, written in the Cosmic Voice volumes published by the Dear Society. Okay. So all of this is part of the discussion we're having on mantra, the power of mantra, the efficacy of mantra, the science of mantra. So do keep all of this in mind and allow this information, this Nani Yoga, to help assist you in your mantra practice and spiritual development. And so speaking of mantra practice, let's then transition back to the excerpt from chapter 3 from the Ancient Language of the Soul text, and we'll look at the 6 parts of mantra japa. Before that, are there any questions, any comments? Or is there anything you'd like to add, Nehemiah, or clarify?
No, it's everything's good.
Okay. Questions? Another thing I want to stress, see it in both Dr. George King and Nehemiah Davis, anytime they talk about mantra, the discussion of a mantra, they stress the law of mantra, and that you should never give out a mantra. A mantra should only be received by a master of mantra through initiation to the devotee or to the student. And any other way receiving mantra comes with it karmic repercussions. And even if you were to pick up a mantra from a book, book was written by a master of mantra, that does constitute an initiation. But if you did receive the mantra improperly, there are steps one can take to mitigate the karmic repercussions of receiving the mantra improperly. But as we should not give out a mantra unless that mantra lives within you, or a master of mantra yoga, which Dr. George King was, and thereby allowing him to create the initiation tape, a recording, and thereby make available for us to purchase and use in our daily practice. So in that mantra initiation recording, there are several mantras. The first set are mantras that can be used both in your personal practice and in a group setting. And then in the second set, there's an expanded group of mantras called soul mantras that Dr. George King unlocked and made available for us to use, and gracefully initiates us into that we can use in our spiritual development and practice. So if you would like to not only learn more about mantra, but to be initiated into mantras properly to be used in your own spiritual practice, again, I would highly recommend and refer you to that recording so you can get those mantras carefully selected by the Master Dr. George King for us to use both in our mantra japa practice, in prayer session, in healing, spiritual development, and so on and so forth. So the 6 parts of mantra japa. Every mantra has 6 components to it. These 6 parts of mantra give it the balance of power that we all seek within mantra. The designers, or may I say the discoverers of mantra, have realized this consistence within the science of mantra knowledge. All mantra sound is taken from the 50 letters or petals of the chakras that lie within the etheric bodies of man. Excuse me. The yogi masters that are able to go into deep states of meditation like samadhi or cosmic consciousness, which is another one of the freedoms, have heard and been able to intone the sound bits petals on the chakras. With these sound bits, which are called letters, varnas in Sanskrit, and seed mantras, or bijas in Sanskrit terminology, on and within the chakras, the masters of samadhi arrange them in a configuration that act as keynotes of sound vibration that synchronizes the vortex centers of power, chakras, within the etheric structures. This synchronization of the chakras and etheric structures sensitizes these vehicles of expression to be able to translate the higher frequencies of mind substance and cosmic energies that normally flow through these centers undetected by the conscious mind. The masters of samadhi merges their conscious minds into their superconscious minds, bringing about a tremendous amount of awareness that opens the master to the direct pressures of the divine laws of karma. This allows him to operate as the avatars do, where he operates within and under the strict divine laws of karma. It is this state of mind that the masters work from when they are formulating these mantras, measuring every fraction of force that's exerted within the sound quality of the mantra under the laws of karma. So there in that discussion gives us some idea of what I talked about earlier, the law of mantra and why it is not to be just divulged or given out by anyone, but must come from a master in whom which the mantra lives within. And here described are the reasons behind that. Now let us go over the 6 components of mantra. The rishi, seer guru, or master that gives the mantra meter is a measure of the length of the mantra. Mantra devata, the presiding deity of the mantra or flow of mantra power. Mantra bija, the seed of the mantra, usually a 1-syllable mantra. Mantra Shakti, the cosmic energy or power of the mantra. And mantra Kilaka, the pillar or pin that's hidden in the mantra. The first component is the master or guru. This means that a master must give you a mantra that has lived within them, or a mantra that he had formulated from his ability to raise the power of Kundalini consciously through Sushumna up to the Christ center, Aja Chakra, into a deep state of samadhi where the master works from a point of strict karmic control. When the master gives a mantra, he passes on a part of his consciousness to the student he gives the mantra to. This is the subtle power exchange that happens between master and student. The second component is the measurement and length of the mantra, which governs the pitch, notes, and tone of the voice. There are several ways to measure the mantra, one of which the most effective methods is called automatic counting, where you use your hand to count the number of times you say the mantra. Each joint on the fingers is used as a point to count from, with the thumb scanning as illustrated in figure 3-3. The automatic counting method is a very effective way of keeping count without thinking of it too much. 1 round of the hand gives a 16 count. 6.75 rounds of the hand gives us a 108 count, which is said that a mantra chanted 108 times consequently places the mantra on all known 108 chakras within the human structure. The second most effective mantra counting method, and a very popular method, is using the mala beads. The mala beads as a necklace-like design with 108 beans on a string that represents a mantra count that places the mantra on all 108 chakras as shown in the figure 3-4 to the left. The mala beads are designed to be used without thinking about the process too much. The 108 bead mala allows the user to place the chanted mantra on each chakra with 1 round of the mala beads, or 1 complete round around the entire, I guess, necklace. It's also set the goal. It also set the goal for the practitioner to reach on a, also sets the goal for the practitioner to reach on a daily basis to chant the mantra 21,600 times by going 200 rounds on the mala beads, which is stated that the soul secretly chants the mantra 21,600 times a day to keep a segment of its consciousness engrossed in etheric, mental, astral, and physical substance, i.e. the 21,600 breath that we take every day. That's what's being referred to there. Next, intonation, pronunciation, and invocation of the mantra sets the level of power that one can tap into. The spoken mantra aloud invokes the power on the physical plane. The whispered mantra, where only you who are whispering the mantra can hear the mantra, invokes the power on the mental plane of existence. The mantra spoken with pure thought invokes the power on the psycho-spiritual planes of existence. And do refer back to Nehemiah's previous lectures on mantra, as well as Dr. George King's lectures on mantra on the techniques are given on how to properly perform these three methods of mantra japa, both spoken, whispered, and through thought. The third component of mantra is the residing devata of the mantra, which some ancient texts call the presiding deity, whether it's a higher or lower power entity. The devata is the mantra, and the mantra is the devata. When the mantra is recited with great devotion to the point where it lives in the man who is constantly reciting the mantra, the devata of the mantra reveals itself to the devoted practitioner and then merges itself with its particular power into the auric structure of the practitioner, expressing its full power. The Yoga Sutras describes the Ishta Devata as the spiritual forces that result from the constant recitation of the mantra. The devotees of this ancient science recognize these forces as called into play by the recitation of the mantra is backed by the deity that's strictly governed by the divine presence of the divine laws of the lords of karma, who make sure the divine laws of God prevail throughout all creation. The fourth component of the mantra is the bija, or seed mantra, which is the significant word or series of words which gives it a special power. This is the root sound harmonizing the mantra with a keynote power signature. Sometimes the seed mantra expresses the essence of the mantra. I must note here that in every major chakra along the spine, a bijas or seed mantra is described. This bijas is the presiding deity and the consciousness of that particular chakra that expresses the mental level of existence that the bijas works from. It is the true state of consciousness that man works from. The soul of man works through the vortex centers, chakras of the body. It expressed bits of consciousness of the soul. The bijas is actually the first layer of the embodied consciousness, jiva. The bijas of each chakra is a synchronizing Shakti consciousness of the chakra. In fact, it's only a part of the soul's manifested consciousness. There are about 108 chakras within the body of man. Between the major, minor, and minute chakras, the chakra system can be called a consciousness splitting instrument of the soul. The soul uses it to involve itself into gross forms of manifested Shakti. The use of a series of calibrating sound vibrations, the soul forms the bodies of expression that it works through. The fifth component of mantra is the mantra Shakti, which is the power of the mantra the vibrational form set up by its sound. The Shakti power of the mantra is that force that carries man to the devata that is worshipped. Mantra is a component of the absolute's conscious will. The potential configuration behind all manifested Shakti, cosmic energies, and mind substance. Mantra Shakti commands mind substance and cosmic energies by creating various forms and shapes from its projected forces of sound vibrations. The magnetic power that Mantra Shakti has over mind and prana is because of its composition of the opposite forces in a state of pure potential as subtle Shakti power. The sixth and final component of mantra is the mantra Kilaka, which is the pillar or pin that supports and makes the mantra strong, or the pin which fastens the mantra together. This Kilaka is the plug for the mantra Chaitanya, consciousness, that's hidden in the mantra. With constant, prolonged repetition of the mantra, the plug is removed and the name of the devata is revealed. Then the practitioner devotee enters a visionary state, darsana. Right. And thus concludes our extract from the text, Ancient Language of the Soul, from chapter 3, The Power of Mantra. Again, do pick up a copy of that text. It is also the inaugural text in the study session series, where we actually read through the entire text and corresponding open discussions. We looked at the text chapter by chapter, and we spoke directly with the author, expanding on certain sections, asking questions, and diving deeper into that text. So I do invite you to look at that study sessions series, which is on hold for now. I'm going to expand it later, as well as pick up a copy of that book. Now, there is one more handout I want to look at. It is a handout, more recent handout that you might put together on japa lessons, the mystic knowledge of mantra. Review this once again. This handout is in the Google Drive shared folder in the 2021 folder, I believe. I think last year was when we looked at it. Let me confirm that. Yes. This will be the final bits we cover for today. Again, if there are any questions or any comments, do feel free to post them in the chat, and we'll address those for you. This handout gives more information on one of the two counting methods that were described in that chapter 3 extract, which is the one counting using the hand. We did cover this handout before, so I'm not going to read everything, but I will go into the second part here at the bottom, where we look at the structural count of mantra using the hand. And in the text, it was mentioned the 6.75 rounds of the hand. And here at the bottom is a table that illustrates that so we can get a better understanding of how where that 6.75 number came from and how it allows us to complete a full 108 round in mantra japa. And remember that 108 count is so that any mantra we are reciting can be placed on each of the 108 known chakras. And also mentioned the text was that the goal was to do this, I think he said 200 times a day.
Dwayne, you got your mute button on.
Sorry. Was I muted that whole time? Did you not hear anything I said?
It went mute when you said 200 times a day.
Oh. And so, yeah, so the goal, the daily goal, as you read in that, just read in that text, 21,600 times rotation is roughly 200 rounds of a mala, or 200 complete 108 counts using the hand. So let's take a look at it. Starting from the left, on the hand is the represented all the 5 major elements. Apana, the thumb, etheric solids, which is tied to the base of the spine chakra. The pointer, Vyana, etheric liquids, tied to the sex center. The ring, middle finger, sorry. Samana, etheric fire, tied to the solar plexus chakra. The ring finger, which is prana, etheric air, the heart chakra, and the little finger or pinky finger, udana, etheric sound, the throat chakra, tied to the throat chakra. There is also a major chakra and minor chakras mapped out in the hand, palm being location of the major chakras, and then each knuckle and joint location of minor chakras. Each finger has at least 4 minor chakras located in the joint areas. As you can see here, these white circles represent the minor chakras. These dotted lines represent the nadis linking the hand to the major chakras along the spinal column. And in the palm center is a major chakra in the hand, regulated mainly by the sex, throat, and Christ chakras. So Svadhisthana, Vishuddha, and Ajna chakras, respectively. And the thumb is used as a trigger mechanism to link the flows of power to the chakras throughout the body and accelerate the energy particles within the auric envelope. Also allows us to begin placing the mantra on all the 108 chakras within the auric structure. So in the practice, we take the thumb and move up, or in the counting practice, we move up the finger, starting with the index pointer finger. The thumb count moves from the bottom up to the top of the finger of each finger, chanting the full mantra at each finger joint on the finger. So it's illustrated here. You take the thumb, start at number 1. That's 1 japa. 2, the next finger joint out, that's another japa. 3, another japa, and then 4, another japa, and then you move the thumb to the next position, number 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on, all the way up to the top of the pinky finger. Then once you reach the top of the pinky finger, you then go back to the index and start the next round. As you can see here on this 108 structural count using the hand, as you move through all fingers and all 16 joints, you move through all of the energies, Udana, Prana, Samana, Dhyana, and Apana, through all the elements. And as you do 108, you place whichever particular mantra you're practicing at that time on all known psychic centers. All right. So there you go. You have the science of Mantra Sastra. I've given some of the elements of japa practice and even given a key to assist you in your mantra japa practice. If you have not been initiated into mantra, again, I highly recommend picking up that mantra initiation recording from the Ether Society. But then you then have a complete practice that you can employ in your mantra japa sessions. You can also pick up the text, Contact Your Higher Self Through Yoga, to give a set of pranayama practices that you can also incorporate in your spiritual practice. And I think all of those practices are combined together in the text. Realize your inner potential, also available from the society. So you can pick up those materials and enhance your spiritual practice. The question here, does both of the hands have the same functionality and design?
Yes and no. I mean, if your left hand, you can use the left hand. If your right hand, you can use the right hand. But mystically, the right and left represents a different energy or mind flow. But you have some people come into the world left-handed. You have some people come into the world right-handed. So, but doing this practice is the motion, and you are tapping into so yeah, it is right. Is yes and no. You know, the design, both hands represents two different things, but you know that we are left hand and right hand. So it depends on where you are. If you're left-handed, it will work because this is a mudra, and this mudra depends on you tapping into a flow, a nodic flow of energy, and releasing energy through sound, and that sound is vibrated through the body to a particular chakra. So it works. It doesn't matter what hand you're using, especially if you're a left-handed, you use the left hand. If you're right-handed, you use the right hand. But mystically, each hand represents a particular mind flow and stage of evolution or energy configuration. So it's all about the mudra itself and taking that energy, taking this a particular energy and transferring that energy into the auric field from a willful a willful point of view. That's what this is about. So it really doesn't matter, I think, about the left or the right when doing this. And I hope that's understandable.
Any further questions or comments before we close out today? Look at the chat here. If there's no further questions.
I want to say we should incorporate this into our the Mudra Yoga. Is this in the Mudra Yoga PowerPoint?
I'm not sure. I'll check today.
Let me look and see right now.
Just wipe out the screen. Spelled it.
No, it's not. So we can put, because I wanted to do a class on that Mudra Yoga coming back.
Okay.
So it's workshop 10 if you're looking for it. I am KC workshop 10 Mudra Yoga, prana manipulation.
Okay.
You see it?
Yes, I can see workshop 10. Okay, I see it here.
It's 40 pages, right?
Well, mine says 50.
It's 50 pages? Yeah, it's 50 pages.
Why does this thing keep blanking out my screen? Any other questions, any comments? Now, then let us close out with reciting the New Lord's Prayer. The New Lord's Prayer. O divine and wondrous Spirit, O everlasting Lord of hosts, send forth now through me thy great and lasting power. Allow me, Almighty God, the lasting privilege of radiating to all the world thy great love, so that those who suffer may be given the power and energy to rise above their weaknesses. Almighty God, in great humility do I ask you to send forth your power to give to me this great lasting privilege of being a channel, so that my suffering brothers may be helped and guided and healed and lifted into thy light, so that they who know not may look up, and in doing so receive to their higher selves your divine counsel. Almighty God, this day have you granted me a divine privilege. I ask you now to give to me the strength, so that never again will I turn from my inner vision of you. Oh, great peace, great peace, great peace. In praise of your greatness, O God, doth my soul sing. Grant it energy to sing on forever and ever. All right, thank you very much, everyone, for your attendance, participation, and attention. Do go back and review the materials that were referenced and presented today, including the Ancient Language of the Soul text, the 9 Freedoms text, the 9 Freedoms lectures, the Karma and Reincarnation lecture, 4 Aspects of Creation lecture, and as well as pick up a copy of the Mantra Initiation recording. All right, thank you very much. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you next time.